All right, friends, let's talk a little bit about our goal path template. So the goal path template has two sheets to it. Okay, there's two different tools to use. The first one is our guidance document. Okay, so this actually goes through step by step the different ways to go about building ourselves a goal map. Okay, so again, the goal map relates back to our rate of perceived mental wellness. What we're trying to do with these two tools is we are trying to recognize that based on where we're at in our lives at any given day or week, we're not going to be able to do the same amount of work and a forward movement depending on what's happening, right? Again, you might be in the middle of your patio renovations and they might be coming along really, really well. But if your kitchen is on fire, you're not going to be working on renovations that day. You're going to be working on your kitchen, which is on fire. Okay. So because life happens and because we need to find a place of flexible perseverance, we need to be able to think of our goals not as these big, really structured, rigid sets of tasks to accomplish, but more as a living and breathing process. Okay, so what this is this helps you to kind of map out that process. How am I going to get from point A to point B? And what's going to happen when life happens to me and when barriers come up and I start to feel myself moving through those different colors of mental wellness? How can I continue to move forward in the things that I want in life? When I can't do everything, how can I do something? Because a whole bunch of somethings are going to eventually add up to something really amazing, okay? And it will take longer, but it will be more meaningful and more sustainable because you will have done it over the course of time and given your brain a chance to create that kind of neuro map of taking you to a place of happy self-efficacy and growth, okay? So this is a document that gives you kind of an idea of what that looks like. Going back to our color system, right? That black level is our critical level, okay? It's crisis. This is not where we grow. This is where we do our very best to stay alive, okay? And I know that that sounds dramatic, but there are days in all of our lives where staying alive and getting out of bed is actually the most that we can do. That's it. That's all we're able to bring to the table, okay? So in those days of staying alive, we are focused on our sleep. And again, no specific goals here. We're just looking to make sure that we get as much rest as we can and as much as feels good to our body, okay? Nutrition, again, no specific goals, eat as needed. Now, I really want to highlight here, this is not the time to food shame, okay? This is not the time for you to be worried about your diet. This is the time for you to make sure that you are being gentle and compassionate and loving with yourself and to really, really focus in on all food is good food if the alternative is no food, right? Even if you're overeating and abundantly eating and you know that that's part of the problem, okay, food shaming yourself is not going to be part of the solution there. So instead of focusing on, I can't believe how terrible I am, I keep eating these Cheetos and I can't stop, think instead of going, have I had any water? Cheetos are really salty. I need to make sure I'm having more water because I'm probably dehydrated, and that's probably contributing to my mental health. Okay, so think about it that way. This is not the time to be making any sort of rigid changes or to be beating ourselves up for the decisions that we're making. This is the time to focus on putting the fire out. Okay, movement, no specific goals here again. Try to move. Try to move a little bit, even if it's just stretching at your chair, right? Even if it's just rolling your neck around while you're watching a Netflix show, try to make sure that you're moving all of the joints of your body at least a couple of times a day so that the blood can circulate, so that the joints can stay limber, so that you don't wind up getting really, really sore and really, really tight in your muscles because that creates a lot of discomfort as well. Okay, especially if you live with chronic pain, gentle movement here, gentle flowing. This is not the time to run a marathon. Okay, this is the time to self massage and just move through and remind yourself that you're still here. Okay, self care checkpoints. Okay, now in this program, your checkpoint is me. I would like you to try to let me know that you're doing okay. Again, I've given the example, even if you just pick up the phone, call and say, I don't want to talk, and hang up. At least there's a checkpoint. There's something connecting your brain that's operating over time inside and pulling it outside, right? So something is making your brain go, someone else is aware of my self-care crisis. Someone else is there. And your brain starts to think of that as a support and as a tool. Okay, and so reaching out, if it can't be with me, that's okay. Find someone that you trust because it's really important. And then from there, our other colors take us through some kind of baseline ideas. And what I want you to think about here is I want you to think about this map as being like the board in a Lego set. Okay, so you know those Lego sets that would have like big boards like this, and they would just have tons and tons of Lego holes, like the plugs that you could put them into. Okay, I don't know how to describe Lego language. Maybe it's very technical. Okay, but this is the board. Okay, so your goals are going to be the Lego blocks. And we've got an idea of where we want to go and what we want the picture to look like. And it's much easier if you can put the block on something stable. So you can move on a couple of different blocks at the same time. And it doesn't just look like chaos of random pile of blocks here and random pile of blocks there. There's an actual structure. Okay, so when we're teaching kids to build a house out of popsicle sticks, we teach them to put it down, right? And we build it so we can visualize and have some stability and base of support to what we're trying to do. And I want you to think of your goals this way, because this is going to allow us to work on multiple different things in different ways at different times and at different intensity levels. Okay, so when we're in our red, we're looking to try to meet our base needs and maybe now starting to create some structure around that. So not just please eat, but please eat maybe 2 or 3 times a day. Your body would like that, right? Not just please move, but please move in a way that is intentional and good for your body, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, so we're building tiny little scaffolds on these cornerstones of self-care, right? Now you'll notice the growth focus goal here is still just checking in with me and maybe considering watching the workshop video or participating in a mindset discussion on the Facebook page. It's not big, okay? You can't solve a problem in crisis. And I will reinforce this as often as I can. You can't solve a problem in crisis. You can only solve a crisis, okay? So you can put the fire out, but this is not the time to think about how you're going to redecorate the kitchen. This is the time to put the fire out. It's the time to make sure that everyone is safe, that everyone has been cared for, everyone is under control, everything is good, and we're all going to make it out alive. That should be the only real goal at this point in time. Okay, don't try to solve a problem in crisis. Let's just put the fire out. So that's where your red lives. From there, we head into orange, which is our baseline. Okay, and that's where we do start to see if we can't create at least a base minimum. So we're looking for what would be a healthy baseline, the bare minimum that I can do, assuming I'm not in a state of crisis. So assuming that my life is regular, what would a regular baseline of minimum activity look like? What would a regular baseline of minimum good nutrition look like? So here we're talking about adding in some quality food. I love to tell people, don't take out. Don't take out until you reach like the yellow or the green, and even then like the green. Don't take stuff out. Put stuff in. Okay, start before you take anything away, which your body and brain are going to interpret as a negative thing. Add stuff in. Okay, add a salad, add vegetables, make your goal eating 1 fresh piece of fruit a day. Whatever that winds up looking like, put more in. Not only will you have less room in your belly for the stuff that doesn't feel good to you, but also you're going to be having all the added vitamins and minerals and nutrients that come along with adding good stuff in. So that's kind of your orange. We're looking at small growths here. In our growth focus, we're looking at maybe one additional task. What's one thing you can do above and beyond the ideas that I gave to move you a little bit closer to your goal? If your goal is buying a house, can you make one phone call this week to ask questions about one area of your house? That will move you a little bit closer to that goal without throwing into chaos all the base needs that you're going to need to have the energy to get you to that end goal, right? Ultimately to get you to your house. In yellow, we're in a growth zone. Growth zone is exciting. I love growth zone, but it takes some work to get there because most of us are entering in either the red or the orange. A couple people entered into the black, but we're starting to move ourselves into the red comfortably and safely with professional supports, right? But most of us are sitting kind of in the orange coming into this kind of a program. And so that first transition step is getting us into yellow. And once we're in yellow, that's when we start to really put on some actual tangible goals that are above and beyond the bare minimum. I am prepared to do something a little bit uncomfortable, something a little harder than what I think I might be able to do right now. I'm ready for a challenge. Okay, so here we might talk about improving the quality of our nutrition, right? And again, not necessarily giving anything up, but how can we choose and how do we allocate portions? How often do I really need to eat Cheetos? Do I need to eat them every day? Do I need to eat the whole bag? Can I eat a bowl of it, right? So that's when I want you to start thinking about what sort of structure can we give above and beyond the bare minimum. So you're taking your Lego blocks, you now have the foundation of your house, and we're going to start to build on that foundation, a couple of extra layers to build those walls up. The foundation is strong, the plan is there, but we want to start building the walls up a little bit so that the house starts to take shape and we can start to get an idea of what it is. So think about this as adding the walls onto your foundation. Once we get into the green zone, that's your thrive zone. So that's when you're actually full on rocking it. By now, your building has walls. It might even have a roof. It would be good if it had a roof, okay? So you don't really get out of the yellow zone until your building, your Lego blocks have a roof, until you're actually really kind of settled into, I've got a routine, I'm consistent, I feel good about where I'm at, and I am ready to decorate. Okay, so this is where you start thinking about planting gardens and decorating your trellis and your beautiful Lego home. Okay, or if you are someone who is working on growth goals and really looking at thriving and pushing yourself, this might be where you look at taking on a 5K race. This might be where you look at taking on an actual food challenge and saying, for example, I am ready to not drink alcohol. I am ready to give up cheese. It makes me feel terrible. Oh my God, that gives me anxiety even just to say it. Okay, I'm still very much in the yellow when it comes to my food. I'm not ready to give up anything that brings me comfort and joy, even though I know it's bad for me. Okay, so that's a good example of yellow to green. I'm thinking about it, I'm playing with it, but I'm just not quite there yet. Movement, right? You might want to take on a different movement goal. You might want to try something new. You might want to say, I want to try hiking, or this year I'm going to learn how to snowshoe, or this year I'm going to put on some skates and hit the ice rink. Okay, so that was Carla's Thrive goal. And when it came to movement, in that particular sequence, Carla moved very quickly, right? She went straight through red, orange, yellow, and now is kind of in this green zone of, I'm going to try everything, right? I'm ready. But she's a great example of kind of having a pretty good baseline to begin with, right? Carla came in where she's like, I have my days where I'm red, but I haven't really felt a whole lot of black. And generally speaking, I kind of live in the orange. And so that transition was really smooth and she's ready to take on much more challenging goals. So think about that when you're kind of looking at this guidance document. And then we're going to talk in our next video about the second half of the goal path map, which is the template.